The video today is a pity video, by the way, Steve.
Sag.
Yeah, we're throwing a bone to one guy, one channel member who's been begging for this for like a year and a half. He's been asking for a Blood Asp video for a very long time, and I've constantly been like, yep, right away, of course, just around the corner, next thing I'm working on, and then it never gets done. It has never gotten done. This video was truly in the soon TM black hole of science insanity video production, man.
It's a long list of videos there, though. It's not too special.
Yeah, it's like most video ideas at this point. Honestly, at this point, our community comes to me and they're just like, hey, this would be a cool video idea. And I'm like, yeah, that is a really cool video idea. And then I forget about it.
The community just sits there looking at you like Brendan Fraser and The Whale. Can I have a video? Don't even answer you anymore. They just sit there and look at you like this.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. But this guy has been persistent enough that I like haven't fully forgot about it. Every time he brings it up, I'm just like, yeah, sure, I pushed it up. But it's finally getting done today. It's finally getting done. I don't remember your name off the top of my head, but you're finally getting a video on your favorite mech, and it's like not even going to be the focus for half of the video.
Can't remember the name enough to care, but you do get your video. So.
Yeah, poor guy. He exists to suffer. Anyways, today we are talking about the Blood Asp, a 90-ton clan assault mech made after the clan invasion and the big oof on Tukiad, and living mostly during the wars of Reaving and Jihad. It was built half as a genuine evolution of clan mech design and half as a hilarious middle finger to the designer's enemies. And it has precious little extenuating lore on the mech itself, so instead a lot of this video is going to be focused on the surrounding elements.
So what I heard, this is a 3-minute video.
No, it's not going to be 3 minutes. It's going to be a mostly normal length video. It's just it's going to be a little sparse on like actual history and story for the mech because there's not a lot of it. So instead you got to talk about all the stuff that surrounds it and like why it was built and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about things like the feud between Clan Cloud Cobra and Clan Blood Spirit, which, you know, get ready for all the clan names because boy oh boy are there going to be
Yippee!
Like I was trying to say. We're going to be talking about some other stuff. We're also going to be talking about how some of them mysteriously appeared in the Inner Sphere just before the FedCom Civil War. There's some shenanigans going around with the apocryphal video games and stuff. And, of course, we're going to talk about the fact that most of the variants that this thing has are weird, half-aborted monstrosities that look like a madman cobbled them together in a cave with a box of scraps. It really is kind of the garbage bin of Battletech design. Like, you just throw anything onto this mech, and so long as it's a lot of anything, it'll be fine. But before we get into things, brief introductions, generic greetings, welcome to Science Insanity, a channel dedicated to bringing my love of big stompy robots to you in a not at all timely manner. I'm Sai, your host and professional idiot, and along for the ride is my entirely willing content minion, Steve. Introduce yourself, Steve.
Hello, I am Steve.
Oh, he's just so excited to be here. You can tell because he sounds like he's currently tying the noose. Anyways, the Blood Asp. Where should we start? You know what? Let's start with Clan Blood Spirit and Clan Star Adder because it's funny and we will do a drinking game. Every time you hear me say a clan's full name, take a shot. If any of you survive to the end, you get a thumbs up as your reward, I guess. Congratulations on your titanium liver. So this is going to be a pretty fast lightning round, but Clan Star Adder has always been one of the bigger and better equipped of the clans.
If we're going with a lightning round, make sure we have all poured at least 20 shots, just so we're prepared.
A few times over the course of the Homeworld clan's history, they were also the biggest clan and possessed the second biggest warship fleet. So Clan Star Adder was absolutely not a clan to be taken lightly. And they accomplished this through less than clan-like practices a lot of the time. They were no strangers to dirty dealing, betrayal, and conspiracy, though generally if it was discovered, then oh no, Star Adder leadership fully condemns this and will punish them with execution post-haste. But like, if it worked out, What a fortuitous windfall! Who could have seen this coming? More for us. They even have a generally poor reputation among a lot of the other clans, being accused of such heresy as abandoning the way of Kerensky, or being unclan-like, or just generally being assholes. To which Staradder would then very vehemently reply, like, yeah, but we're still alive and our opponents aren't, so stay mad, which is, to be fair, a pretty uncounterable defense.
You could counter it by simply killing them, but
Good luck. There's not many clans that could.
Doesn't appear.
Yeah, there's not really many. I honestly would not bet on any single clan being able to put the adders down. They were one of the few clans with a goddamn brain, because when it came to the invasion of the Inner Sphere, before it even began, they started wargaming hard and running through millions of different scenarios against simulated Inner Sphere combatants. They entirely dropped the idea from other Crusader clans, like the Smoked Jaguars, that it was going to be a fast war.
I do enjoy this change to the name from just normal Smoked Jaguar to Smoked Jaguar. That does seem pretty symbolic there. I do remember some things occasionally.
Occasionally, the little rodent running on the treadmill in your brain actually gets a spark or two in there. We get a flash of memory. Overall, Staradder is absolutely one of the more competent clans. So, of course, because this is Battletech, they were not included in the invasion. Smooth brains only for this adventure, please. Then we have Clan Blood Spirit, the exact opposite. They are the most clan-like clan to ever clan amongst the clans. Clan.
Rip everybody right there.
Unfortunately, the only ones that are resting in peace are Blood Spirit, but that comes in a hot minute. They are fanatical followers, or were, of Nicholas Kerensky's vision. They adhered to every single thing he ever said with, like, cult-like zeal, and they view themselves as the only true clan, since they're the only ones that actually follow the true path, or some garbage or whatever. They are generally extremely puritanical and argumentative and confrontational and ornery to all of their neighbors. They are not good people to be around. They're very unlikable. And this includes up to snubbing clan best practices, because they are molding about things not going their way. They massively overcommit and massively underachieve. If you boiled down the entirety of Tukiad to a single clan, this would be them. So the two clans didn't really get into things until the trial of absorption between a third clan, Clan Burok. Long story short, Clan Burok was aiding pirates and outcasts, so Clan Blood Spirit were the ones who discovered that Clan Burok were cavorting with pirates and stuff, and revealed this to the rest of the clan council. They were hoping that Clan Burok would be basically unpersoned, and then in a trial of absorption, Blood Spirit would be able to take all of their stuff because they were hated enemies. And of course, things were proceeding as planned, and then Staradder was like, oh, meat's back on the menu, boys, and outplayed the Blood Spirits politically, launching a trial themselves to absorb the entirety of Clan Burok. Blood Spirit, who were mortal enemies of Burok for other smooth brain reasons we won't get into, were so piss mad about this at Clan Staradder and the fact that they were getting their kill ratted, they decided to launch a full attack during the trial in a really pathetic attempt to third party the kill, only to get absolutely shit-wrecked, losing the majority of everything they sent, because even in a fight to the death where Clan Burok was being murdered, they were like, yo, dude, uncool, what are you doing here? So Staradder and Burok stopped their fighting, joined forces, kicked Blood Spirit's ass, decimated them, and then threw them off the world before, I don't know, Staradder went back to eating Burok alive or something.
They didn't get to pull the misinput card?
No, they didn't. Blood Spirit just got absolutely destroyed. They just lost.
Like,
they took the
slight
L.
miscalculation.
It was a calculated risk, but God, are they bad at math. But Staradder, in response to this, was like, hey, meat's back on the menu, boys, and pushed Blood Spirit back holding by holding until they had penned them into their last two strongholds. And then they stopped because, and I swear to God, the Star Adders started farming them for XP. They would routinely launch attacks and skirmishes and stuff against Clan Bloodspirit to test their warriors and try out new weapons, because any victory for the Star Adders would maybe have meant the absolute destruction of the Blood Spirits. So they would always fight as hard as possible. To the Star Adders, this was a wonderful place to test all of their weapons. They also training new mech warriors. So they were literally farming them for XP. This clan sucks. This is the loser clan.
They deserved it all.
Anyways, though, it's been about, 10 minutes, and we're finally coming back around to the entire point of the video.
Shit, there was a point to this video?
Yeah, we're talking about a mech today.
Oh, we were just bullshitting.
Yeah. I mean, that's like half of our content in general. We're finally coming back around to the entire point, which is the mech itself, the Blood Asp. This thing is an insult, a very lethal one against Clan Bloodspirit. The blood part is obvious. They just took their clan name and they were like, Lamau, this is our mech and we're going to use it to kill you. But Asp is a play on Clan's Star Adder. The titular Star Adder is a big fancy snake in their clan logo. An asp in real life is like the modern English way, I think, of people saying aspis or aspis or whatever, which is an ancient Greek root word that means viper or venomous snake or some shit. So the blood asp is the blood snake. So the mech overall is a very clear, very distinct threat against Clan Bloodspirit to absorb or annihilate them entirely. And it was attached to, at this point, one of the most comically armed assault mechs the clans have made. This thing is like a borderline walking weapons bunker. Not super uncommon for the era, since by the Jihad and like post-Jihad era, mechs were just running away with lethality. Like, the amount of damage this era can pump out is insane. 96 Alpha Strike on this thing, which is... it's like absurd. This thing could basically one-tap most other assault mechs if you roll lucky with where your shots group. It's pretty stupid. The Blood Asp started its life as a series of testbed designs and prototypes built off an older, proven assault mech, the Kingfisher. The ruggedness of the Kingfisher, alongside its accurate and heavy weapons load, was the basis for the Blood Asp. Though how far clan tech had advanced, the very first thing they did was upgrade all of the internals. The addition of an XL engine and endosteel frame being the biggest upgrades. This meant that the early prototypes of the Blood Asp had a massive amount of pod space for weapons, while only suffering a minor loss in protection since they had to scale back on regular armor instead of using Pharaoh. Unlike a lot of other clan assault mechs, which over the years drifted from the role of giant brick of armor and anger, like the Gargoyle, which is just a clan charger, the Star Adders focused entirely on cramming the fattest weapons they could into this thing, which put many of the initial loadouts in competition for the highest damage output possible. The Blood Asp was finally finished, or I guess the prime version was finally completed, and put into production in the late 3050s, with the first models walking off the production lines in 3060. And my god, was it threatening. The Blood Asp was not only a new assault omni-mech, but also one of the first to start using brand new clan weapons tech, specifically the heavy laser. Also developed by Clan Star Adder, because people complain about Wolf having the plot armor, but Star Adder is just there in the background, winning at everything and doing everything. Heavy lasers were a more elegant and successful clan version of the Inner Sphere's old binary lasers. They're not related, but this is like a convergent evolution kind of thing, like crabs. This is a crab situation where just everything is evolving into crabs. The binary laser in the Inner Sphere was an attempt to make a way more powerful laser, and they did this by just strapping two laser cores together and firing them at the same focusing lens. And you get a really, 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 really beefy laser that more often than not melted itself or the mech firing it. Clan heavy lasers are essentially a normal laser that's had its components reinforced, and then they dump a shitload more power into the lasing crystal. They run similarly, very hot to blazers, and they interfere with your sensors, but they are a very tonnage efficient way to dump damage since they do about 40% more of it and generate about 40% more heat for the downside. And while it's not confirmed directly, like they don't explicitly say that this happened, I refuse to believe that they didn't test this new weapons platform extensively on the Blood Spirits just to rub salt in the wound a little bit more. a new assault mech named to demean and threaten them, alongside new harder-hitting lasers. Like, come on. The Star Adders probably would have been giddy with joy to just, like, ram this thing down their throat. Like, they're just camping outside a spaceport or something, and they just shoot anyone who comes out to try and resupply or escape.
They were actually holding all the showcases for it right out there. They brought in they brought in the fucking big screen, the 700-foot widescreen, the 3-mile widescreen, and telecasted it to all of them.
It's like the fucking Jericho missile from the first Iron Man movie. They're just like a whole bunch of generals and stuff for the clanners. They're like, all right, demonstrate this new mech to us. And they just, in the background, they've just got the Blood Asp obliterating Blood Spirit forces, just marching through the carcasses of their enemy. But Blood Spirit really is just the whipping boy of the clans. Anyways, yeah, the Blood Asp was the vanguard of a shift in clan mech design. Mainly, it heralded a number of way more heavily armed mechs and variants that made use of the heavy laser and later stuff like the Hyper Assault Gauss. And now we get to a very weird part of its lore. Apparently, Clan Star Adder figured out instantaneous translocation a la Goku from Dragon Ball, because a bunch of them randomly showed up in the Inner Sphere just before the FedCom Civil War, even though Star Adder was a homeworld clan. Like, they never left the homeworlds. So how this happened, no idea. This is also highly suspect, probably apocryphal, because from what I know, the first time it was actually introduced was in Mech Commander 2, fighting for the Davians, of all things. And the sum total explanation is that a strangely well-equipped mercenary unit were the ones to make use of it, which, you know, that's like the player character or whatever, or the controlled forces. This is all complicated by the fact that according to all other information, the Blood Asp wasn't even known to the rest of the setting outside the clan homeworlds. Star Adder is the alternative reporting name for this mech, because the people who got it in Mech Commander 2 had no idea what it was, so they just gave it the reporting name of who they thought built it.
Did they like put a 1 after it or something? I have a feeling that it gets hard to differentiate it if you just go around saying who you think built it the entire time. Could be referring to like 30 different ones.
Yeah. So the naming and the history of the Blood Asp in the Inner Sphere is a little I think the safest option is to be like, nah, that's apocryphal, it just straight up didn't happen. Because somehow Star Adder would have had to make it all the way to the other side of the Inner Sphere after the clan invasion had been halted, just to sell like 10 of these mechs. Like, what are you doing? It's very silly. It's probably just one of those things where it's like a mech assault or mech warrior situation. They just added in cool mechs and neat stuff, and then the setting kind of had to catch up later by figuring things out.
Yeah, they said, this shit looks cool as fuck, it's going in the game.
They were right, it does.
Like, oh, well, okay, I guess we'll have to make this shit work somehow.
The Blood Asp would also participate in the Wars of Reaving in the clan homeworlds, which we're not going to get too much into it, but it was essentially like a massive schism/civil war that echoed the succession wars of the Inner Sphere. The clans in the homeworld were like, all you clans in the Inner Sphere, you're not very clan-like anymore, bad, corrupted. And all the clans in the Inner Sphere were like, you guys are insane extremists, why didn't you get off your ass and help us? You know, and so they cut off communication between each other, and then the homeworlds fought a big, giant, stupid war, and it's not important. What this did was cut off the homeworlds from the rest of the setting pretty much entirely. So for a very long time, the Blood Asp would be confined only to the clan homeworlds, and the few examples that existed in the Inner Sphere would die out. In the actual Wars of Reaving, however, it would distinguish itself as a primo mech for deleting other enemies off the face of the planet. The twin Gauss rifles, the giant guns on its shoulder, along with the bank of heavy lasers and missiles, meant that the Blood Asp was uniquely capable of eviscerating other clan mechs. If anything survived the punishing long-range volleys, they'd be cut down by the lasers at medium range, and anything that closed further would have to deal with a bank of streak SRMs. The only real downside was hilariously a classic clanner blunder. Terrible logistics.
It was bound to show up eventually.
Yeah, you just can't get away from it.
Talking about the clans, we ain't going a whole video about it. How far in did we make it?
We made it about 20 minutes, yeah.
Okay, that might be a new record, honestly.
It's a little bit more forgivable for the Star Adders, though, because they were planning on actually having proper logistics for the invasion of the Inner Sphere. But it had basically no ammo. You get 8 shots for the giant shoulder-mounted cannons and missiles and stuff. So make them count, buddy, because you're not getting any more.
Better know how to aim, pilot boy.
Every time you miss, we're gonna cut off one of your fingers. You've got 8 shots, don't fuck it up. So the Blood Asp really is the clanner's clan mech. Massive, overwhelming firepower at all ranges, decent armor and speed, and basically no staying power. Though seeing as how the homeworld clans didn't and kind of wouldn't fight the extended campaigns or battles that were the hallmarks of the Inner Sphere, giant metal-grinding nightmares that would last months or years, the Blood Asp could kind of get away with this since they just needed to win trials and general, like, clan honor duel bullshit most of the time, and then that was that. So in the Inner Sphere, however, while the Wars of Reaving were happening, the Blood Asp basically went extinct. No new models, no more spare parts, no shipments, nothing, and the actual plans to build more in the factories didn't exist in the clan domains. Until our hero showed up. Clan Snowraven. Having been exiled from the clan homeworlds during the Wars of Reaving, they somehow got their hands on the schematics for the Blood Asp and started producing them out of converted mech factories in the Inner Sphere. Though in what I can only describe as an absolute win for capitalism, they started selling them at gunpoint to anyone and everyone. The Blood Asp's re-debut to the Inner Sphere was often a star of Snowraven mech warriors showing up on a battlefield, obliterating whatever it was they found fighting there, and then turning to the people who were now in need of more mechs and being like, hey, you see what we did to those losers? You want in on this? We're selling the mechs. Come on. It's open season.
Well, once again, it's just the showcase of from my...
Dude, it's genius, man. Create a problem, sell the solution. You created the problem of these guys having no more mechs or mech warriors, and then you sell them new mechs. I'm being very, very tongue-in-cheek about this, but it's actually how this happened. This is genuinely what happened. So, predictably, the Snowraven's strategy worked wonders as the Blood Asp started to proliferate not just through the various clan dominions, but also the great houses and mercenary units of the Inner Sphere, and literally everybody who wanted to buy one. It's made even funnier because the Snowravens didn't really have a well-landed base of operations, so they kind of just couch-surfed across the Inner Sphere until they ended up in the Outworlds Alliance, a nation of mostly backwards farmers and primitives who get bullied a lot in the setting's history by their neighbors, the Fed Sons, and the Combine. So having a clan ally was pretty nice for them, as well as a supply of top-of-the-line assault mechs like the Blood Asp. It was such a good deal for them that they eventually formed the Raven Alliance, because there's no such thing as a creative clanner, and merged into one faction. And as for Clan Snowraven, again, they didn't really have a plan for conquest at this point, so they used the Blood Asp as their introduction to the arms trade, literally looking at Clan Sea Fox, the other mercantile clan, also known as Clan Diamond Shark, also known as Clan Moneybags, owner of the arms trade, and going, yeah, I'm just gonna copy that. Having lots of money and controlling the weapons trade sounds like it would be really nice. And then they did, and thus the Blood Asp ended up just everywhere. Just everybody in the Inner Sphere gets their hands on this thing, and as you'd expect, it has a number of truly absurd variants because of that, which we'll get on to the technical stuff and then we can end off the video.
How many variants are there? Do we have like 3 full pages worth?
Not 3 full pages, but there's a decent number, and since it's clan and not Inner Sphere numbering, they don't actually use numbers, they just go by letters, which would suggest that the maximum number of variants is the number of letters in the English alphabet, but I don't think any...
we're gonna get up to like 7 letters of
yeah,
it,
we only get to T. It goes up to T. A, B, C, D, E, F, G... Anyways, the default Blood Asp is a 90-ton clan Omni-Mech, comes with 14 double heat sinks in the engine along with 4 more for a total of 18, very decent heat sinking for a mech of its size. It It moves at 65 kph, which again, for a 90-ton assault mech that's this big and this heavily armored, clan tech is bullshit. It really is cheating. Surprisingly fast, moves about as fast as a lot of 55 to 65, 70-ton mechs. Quite speedy. Its default armament is 2 Gauss rifles, 1 in each shoulder, the big guns you see on the top there, 4 heavy medium lasers, 2 in each arm, 2 medium pulse lasers, also split 1 in each arm, and the big bank of Streak SRMs right under the cockpit there, which I know that on a technical readout, the center torso is not the same thing as the cockpit, but the cockpit is directly on top of the missile launcher and the ammunition in the picture. That looks like a very dangerous place to put it, but you know what? It's fine. It comes with built-in case. The mech warrior's probably okay if things explode. Not really that important.
Will 100% be fine. 98% survival rate or something.
Yeah. All in all, the Blood Asp has a eye-watering alpha strike of 96 damage in 1 volley, which is absurd, and capable of stripping multiple tons worth of raw armor and structure clean out of an enemy mech when it hits it. The only saving grace is that it can't afford to alpha strike every single time. It's got to give its lasers a little bit of time to cool down in between shots, because oh god, do those heavy mediums generate a lot of heat. The prime configuration is generally really good. However, everybody else doesn't have great access to clan tech. So what they ended up doing is just curmudgeoning a whole bunch of stuff together and hoping it would work. My absolute favorite one is the Oops All Ultra 2s. This is the D configuration, and it is geared quote-unquote to long-range support. And they do this by stripping one of the Gauss rifles, replacing like all of the lasers with a single ER large to dramatically reduce its firepower, and then putting 3 ultra autocannon 2s. And if you're not aware, the 2 rating autocannons are awful. They suck. There's almost no reason to ever use them. And having 3 of them is absolutely absurd. They take up so much tonnage and use so much space that you would unironically be better off putting a single Ultra 10 in there. It would be about 50% less weight and tonnage and all of that, while having more damage. It's an absolutely god-awful loadout, and whoever designed this should be shot. It's terrible.
That sounds like the Capellan thing, honestly.
It's not a Capellan thing. This is a... well... No. This is a clan variant. I'm just saying, it's a very dumb variant. So we also have the alternate configuration I. This is the one that the Fed Sons liked using for all of their newly acquired Blood Asps. 2 large re-engineered lasers, 1 in each arm, and a massive improved heavy Gauss sits in the right torso. It's a monstrously fat weapon, and the improved heavy Gauss is basically one of the scariest ballistic weapons in the setting, full stop. I think it's only outperformed by like an Ultra 20 or a Hyper Assault 40. I think those are like the only weapons that like actually outperform the improved heavy. But then, since that's not enough, and the Blood Asp is the garbage bin of battle mech design, just throw anything into this, as long as there's a lot of it, it'll work. They put 4 small lasers in the opposite torso, because I don't know. Why cannot I not say
Yep. Words. They're hard. English, tough language.
Words are hard. 1 emotional support laser in the head was not enough, so they put 4 in the torso in hopes that the pilot would not randomly walk off a cliff mid-battle. The T configuration created by the Snow Ravens in 3142, so pretty damn late in the timeline, is pretty identical to the Prime. However, what they've done is they've mixed Inner Sphere and Clan Tech, substituting the Gauss rifles for 2 Inner Sphere plasma rifles in the shoulder. While this wasn't a huge change in damage, it did let this version inflict a lot of heat buildup onto enemies, which arguably would be scarier. Hello, editing Sai here. I'm replacing the next like 30 seconds with a bit of a re-recording because I did not explain it well or really go into why plasmas are so scary in the era they're in. Long story short, they have absurd potential bonus damage that puts them up to the level of like an improved heavy Gauss when it hits something. So they only deal like 10 flat damage, which isn't that impressive normally, and then they do like 1 to 6 points of heat, which is a big deal. When you're in the Jihad and like post Dark Ages and like all that crap at the current era in Battletech, mechs run really, really hot. So 2 plasma rifles could potentially be devastating if you dump like an extra 12 heat into a mech that is not capable of sustaining that. You could end up getting a free shutdown on your enemy. But more than that, units that don't count heat, infantry, mechanized infantry, battle armor, proto-mechs, vehicles, stuff like that, they just take a ton of extra damage. Anywhere from 2 to 12 points, which is absurd. The plasma can hit up to 22 damage on an enemy in a single shot at range, which is very, very scary, especially because basically all battle armor infantry and a lot of proto-mechs can be outright one-shot by this. Plasmas aren't like a super scary individual weapon, like you're not going to look at a plasma rifle or something and then shit your pants the way you will from an Ultra 20, but they have the potential to be incredibly spooky if you use them as like a supporting weapon or you get someone with good rolls. And with that, back to regular programming. Every single variant of it, and every single one I've ever seen, people just cram the biggest, dumbest weapons loadouts they can onto it, and they're just like, yeah, I can only fire once every 3 battle rounds, or I might just explode, but my god, that one round of firing is gonna hurt. And that's the Blood Asp. That's the Blood Asp. It's just a giant hit stick of damage that you're gonna dump into some poor fucker downrange. It's a very silly mech. It does look really, really cool, especially the CGL redesign of it, which if you go into Picture Printer, I believe is the very first image of it that I posted, the black and white one. The shoulder cannons, really cool. The arm pods, really cool. They got a lot of that Timberwolf in them with just the general shape and design. It's a very cool looking mech, so I can understand why somebody would like it as like their favorite. Unfortunately, it's relatively, quote-unquote, new mech in the setting, and it really doesn't have a lot of dedicated lore or history. Like, it's, despite being really cool, kind of a filler mech. Like, it exists, and the most interesting stuff about it is really the stuff that surrounds it, like the hilarious feud between the Star Adders and Blood Spirits. But yeah, that's basically the end of the video. Anything you'd like to add before we do the outro, Steve?
Yeah, you said it's got that that Timberwolf in it. Inside you there's
oh my God.
Wolf.
Inside you there.
Just cut it there. Just cut it there.